I've always believed good health is our biggest wealth. And as parents, good health for our children and for us all is our biggest priority. On today's episode, we're going to explore health and fitness for kids and for us parents too. In the episode today, a chat with the legendary Australian cricketer Matthew Hayden, who's also a wonderful dad to his 3 kids.
If you're eating healthy, obviously your children are going to be eating healthy as well.
Yeah.
If you've got a training regime, it's a natural thing that's, oh, hey, mum and dad are doing it.
How Roopak and I, being semi-fitness freaks ourselves, try and encourage our kids to exercise and eat healthy, and we do too. And a tete-e-tete with the svelte Shilpa Shetty Kundra on health and fitness for her and her son.
After Bian was born, I actually went down to pick him up and I couldn't get up. And I looked at myself in the mirror after that. I was like, God, I'm really obese.
Who better than an international legendary athlete who's also a great dad to talk to us about health and fitness for our kids and for us parents. We now have a chat with the amazing Australian cricketer, Matthew Hayden. Matthew, firstly, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. No worries.
My first question is actually going to be to you as a dad.
Yeah, sure.
How did you feel when you first became a dad?
Well, it was a while ago. Grace, our eldest, is 12. I guess it starts on it like way before you're a parent.
Yeah.
You know, just the thought of having a child in the lead up, the 9-month lead up, you know, is an amazing feeling. And ironically, it was actually about that time that my entire career world, as I kind of knew it, changed.
Yeah.
And I guess from a bloke's perspective, you feel really powerful. I don't know what it is, whether it's just a genetic thing, you know, like I'm a man and, you know, we've conceived and, you know, I've now got this child in the way, and then you get this great also sense of responsibility. And, you know, I'll never forget the time also when Grace was born. I was actually due to play a game against Pakistan and I was in Melbourne. And it was just by luck, really, that a friend of mine rang and said, "What are you doing in Melbourne? Isn't she due or your wife expecting?" I said, "Yeah, you're right, actually. I don't know what I was doing." And it was from that conversation that I went immediately to the team manager and said, "Oh, my heart's not in it. I need to go home." And so I went home that day. We had an Indian meal, can you believe?
And that spurred it on.
And then, boom, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, Grace Hayden was born.
Wow.
You know, so I guess chance has it. And I was actually there for the birth of all my children, which is a story unto itself, I've got to say, because I was often away from home and struggling to sort of make my way back because we were midway through a tournament or the tournament was just ending.
As a legendary cricketer, you're very fit. And I think talking about health and fitness, I know you're the Hayden way and everything that you grow and your show as well has a lot of emphasis on health and fitness. So tell us a little bit about that and about how you inculcate that in your kids.
Yeah, well, you know, it just comes very naturally, I've got to say. It's not something I have to feel forced to do. Post-retirement for me personally, 2014 was a really great year for me because it actually allowed me to find a terrific balance between working and also then around my physicality and physical side of my life, which I find I'm at my absolute happiest when I'm hooking into that, whatever that is. Could be surfing, it could be running. This year it was triathlon. So, you know, I did the Noosa Tri, which is probably the biggest try in the world for an Olympic distance try. And I did that in 2 hours 21, which I was like really stoked about. So, you know, that side of my life then rubs off on the kids. So all of the kids are sporty. My wife is really sporty. So, you know, it's a part of our life. You know, we get up, we're like a taxi for the first, you know, basically half the day. And then from about 9 o'clock, we just embed ourselves in the training for a few hours.
Would there be any tips you'd like to give parents who may not be as physically active? Because I think, you know, nowadays it's very cliched, but one talks about how technology and all these indoor activities have actually taken away a lot from the outdoors. In cities like Bombay, sometimes it's difficult to find space and to actually have that outdoor sort of recreation.
That's actually the really tough thing here. You know, it's the time that it takes to get to somewhere where there's some space. So, you know, my tip though in general I think has really come off what I've just mentioned. It's about what you are first and then what they will be as a result of that. So if you're eating healthy, obviously your children are going to be eating healthy as well.
Yeah.
If you've got a training regime and you're looking to invest time into that, it's a natural thing that's, oh, hey, mum and dad are doing it. You don't have to actually say, do this and do that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Now, tell us, what are the parallels with parenting and cricketing?
I think there's lots of parallels. The first one is that there's going to be highs and lows.
Yeah.
I mean, parenting when you're tired and you're under the pump in terms of work and work-related pressure, when the children are going through whatever they're going through, which they do at various times, whether that be night dreams or fussy eating. I mean, we're a very social being, so everything relates to everything. But I think knowing how, you know, Kel and I survive that constant scrutiny of a public life, I think it only stood us in great stead to be able to go to our children and say, hey, we don't know it, but we've sort of been here and we want to hear and we want to understand.
Yeah, yeah.
So it breaks the barriers down nicely.
Yeah, yeah.
Other parallels, I mean, the benefit of living a healthy life.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, as we've mentioned, it's, you know, something I've always loved to do.
So do any of your kids aspire to be cricketers?
Oh, they all do. They're all really good at sport. I can never forget the first time I brought Grace home, which was to our island home in 2 weeks. She was just so tiny, and I put her in this little rock pool, which was kind of about waist height to me, and I sort of dunked her under. And Kel's like flapping. He's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. I said, well, where's the rule book? He said, look at her face. She absolutely loves it.
You dunked her in
Dunked it in the water.
Really? No
so
wonder.
You're freaking out, right?
I would have freaked out.
So Grace is like, comes up, she's like flapping around. She's got this massive smile on her face. So is it any wonder she's a good swimmer?
So Matthew, it's really been such a pleasure chatting to you. And is there anything you'd like to say to all your innumerable cricketing fans? Anything you'd like to say?
I think from my point of view, I really love coming here. I've always had a deep fascination and connection with India, you know, and that's a very genuine and real thing that just happened.
Yeah.
And then when I arrived, you know, like I embraced the country and the country has really embraced me as well, for good and bad, you know, like they saw the kind of big, angry batsman that kind of pounded you guys for all of those years. But, you know, behind it all was a very interesting experience for me personally.
Yeah.
Beautifully mannered people throughout India, very respectful, of course a great love of family and an incredible connection and complicated food, which, you know, I find so intriguing. You know, so there's lots more journeys to come here for me and my family, and I'm really looking forward to those.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Matthew. That was really lovely.
Pleasure.
Coming up, how Roopak and I keep ourselves and our kids healthy. And a tete-a-tete with Shilpa Shetty.
I'm somebody who worked out because I wanted to be fit.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to feel healthy.
Yeah.
Not because I wanted to look good and, you know, I wanted something to fit me well.
I've always been a believer in consistent exercise as opposed to the quantity of exercise. And ever since school, I've been doing some form of exercise every day, whether running or yoga or swimming or horse riding. This has worked for me. I'm always very grateful for wonderful advice that my gynac gave me when I was pregnant. He said, do what your body is used to and just make some modifications when you are pregnant. So for example, if you've always run, you can brisk walk. You've always done yoga, do yoga, but of course avoid asanas that might twist the tummy or harm in any way. My advice is don't shock your body. I'm used to doing yoga. I've been doing it for many years and I'm used to running and walking. Of course, I don't run when I'm pregnant, but I do walk. But if you're someone who's never done yoga, I don't advise that you start when you're 5 months pregnant. So that's what I did. And in my case, I was pretty much back in my jeans the day after I delivered. Another bit of great advice he gave me is you do not need to eat for 2 or 3. A baby is just a tiny seed and grows from there but you actually just have to eat enough for one healthy person, and that is sufficient for the baby too. My parents have always been quite outdoorsy and into fitness, and they inculcated that into us as kids as well. And we try and do the same with our kids and encourage outdoor activities, sport, and fitness. Also, of course, with a balance of activities indoors. When it comes to eating, both our kids can be fussy, and I think most kids go through phases. Personally, I don't always force them to sit at the table. I know that's probably not right, but I find as long as we have some meals at the table together as a family and bond, on other occasions, I allow a little bit of watching the TV when they eat or a little bit of the iPad, because I feel when kids are very, very young, developing their social skills and eating don't necessarily have to go together. One of the great tips my pediatrician gave us when our kids were really little was, if they're being fussy, try and make the food more fun and interesting. I don't know why they make a fuss and then they end up enjoying it, so it's just a process. So, one of the little things we do as a treat is once in a while take them out for a meal. In fact, recently we went to a really nice buffet and there was a great spread of very healthy food laid out. I was impressed to see the kids choose what they want and eat quite well. Come, let's go there. I'll feed him, you go get something. My parents have a beautiful farm outside Bombay where they grow all their own vegetables. And I have to say, when our kids visit the farm and actually pick the vegetables, they eat those vegetables best. So I know as city dwellers it's difficult to do this, but perhaps teaching them to grow something and actually see and pick it can actually help them eat better. And now a chat with someone who's known to be healthy and fit. She's a super actress and she's also writing a book about health and fitness. The beautiful Shilpa Shetty. So how did you feel when you first held Vian?
I just felt very blessed, really. I wanted to be a mother much sooner, but unfortunately, I found Raj very late in my life. If I had my way, I'd have far many more children. But I'm really glad and happy that God gave me the opportunity to become a mother, and it wasn't easy. But I was just so happy to see Vian when he was in my arms. And let me tell you, and you would agree, you have two of your own, it's a full-time job.
It is. It's a full-time
you know, there's no one else who can take your place. I mean, I have people to help me out when I'm at shoots like this, but you know, he's my priority. Vian Raj has always been my priority and will continue to be till he can fend for himself. And it's the most amazing feeling. There's nothing else in the world that I've ever wanted to be more than a mother.
I wanted to actually ask you about this because I find, if I'm honest, because I've exercised consistently since school, if I'm very truthful, for me, I think it's more metabolism and consistency as opposed to quantity. So you being, honestly, in such amazing shape so quickly after Vian, was there anything that was sort of your main tip or your regimen that you followed and you know, live by?
When you're in your late 30s, you really have to think it through completely. And no matter what you say, you know, it does take a toll on your body, especially the first pregnancy. I was unbelievably obese after Vian. I put on 30 kilos. It's not normal. 32 kilos.
I don't remember seeing you like that.
Because nobody saw me. I didn't get out of the house. I was so scared to get out of the house. I didn't leave the house for 5 months. I just wanted to know. Yeah, I was obsessed with Vian. I really believe that the first 4 months are so hard. It's this new, you know, new life. And a new person that you're living with the excess weight. So nothing firstly fit me, you know. So I was just grossly obese. And my gynaec had told me, she said, you don't need to put on more than 15 kilos. I went a little overboard. So I had full fat milk, ghee-laden sweets. I felt I was the only woman that became a mother. If I ever had another child, I don't think I'd do it this way.
What do you think you would do differently?
You don't need to diet, but you definitely need to eat the right things. And they say you need to be well hydrated. You have to divide your meal into, you know, carbs and protein and fiber. And, you know, enough fluids.
The book that you're writing about nutrition and food, is that pregnancy related or is that general?
It's a book that you could read from womb to tomb. That's how I put it.
Really?
I really think it's a book for a greater sense of understanding of nutrition, of health. And I really believe that there are so many myths that people have about food. And also, more importantly, I mean, you know, even children's nutrition. Something like mothers feeding their children with milk as the last thing before they go to sleep is the worst thing to do for a child. Now, that I learned after I became a mother. Because, you know, milk stays in your stomach as acid because your body stops digesting it once it goes into sleep mode.
Right.
So when it turns into acid, obviously that acid is of no use to your body. If you can avoid it, please avoid giving children milk in the night as the last thing before they go to
bed. Yeah, that's really interesting because a lot of people don't know all these things. And again, it's each to their own with what they choose to do.
I'm somebody who worked out because I wanted to be fit. Because I wanted to feel healthy. Not because I wanted to look good and, you know, I wanted something to fit me well.
So how did you actually get back in shape?
The day I decided, I think 7 months after Vian was born, I actually went down to pick him up and I couldn't get up. And I looked at myself in the mirror after that. I was like, God, I'm really obese for my standards. All my life, I've been between 57 and 60. I've, you know, for the last 20 years, that hasn't really changed. So for me to be 80 kilos was a bit much. And the day I decided, I lost 20 kilos in 4 months flat.
Wow.
So it was obviously a mixture of, you know, a good diet plan and working out 4 times a week.
So what kind of workout? Were you running or were you doing?
I was doing a mixture. So it was a lot of, not that much cardio, just a bit of cycling and weights because you need to do weights to shed fat. And tone up. Exercises that didn't really require weights also. So I did it in 3 bits. You know, your core becomes so weak after you have a child. For someone as fit as me, I couldn't even do like 10 sit-ups, you know. And it really scared me. I was like, am I ever going to get back into my old shape? And there was a phase, you know, for those 2 months where I questioned it. I was like, you know, have I lost control over my body? And my body is something I never really paid too much attention to, you know. I worked out, I'm somebody who worked out because I wanted to be fit. Because I wanted to feel healthy. Not because I wanted to look good and, you know, I wanted something to fit me well. And I think that's where most people go wrong. If you make a lifestyle modification, you will automatically look good. You know, something that you want to do for yourself on an everyday basis.
I completely agree because I've always been a big believer in consistency. And I think, honestly, I would choose consistency over quantity. So even with working out, you know, I tend to nowadays, honestly, just do as little as 15, 20 minutes, but just make sure it's regular as opposed to like sudden bursts.
And it's so easy. You don't even have to go to a gym. Do small things, you know, make a diet chart. When I wanted to lose weight, I just did a low carb, no carb diet. And, you know, it's that simple. So if you want to do it.
I think that's the message.
You have to have the will to do it.
Absolutely. I think that's a great message.
Having a baby shouldn't be an excuse to put on weight.
That's true.
It's rubbish.
That's true. That's a very good reason. And also, I think running after the babies is also quite good exercise.
I've actually lost most of my weight because of that.
So on that note, Shilpa, it's been amazing chatting to you. Is there anything you'd like to say to all the parents out there?
It's really a request to mothers especially whose hands it is in to feed children well, sensibly, not stuff them with food that is laden with fat just because they want to see a mota bachcha. That's not the sign of good health. Any good doctor will tell you that and reiterate that. When a child doesn't have too much fat, they're able to run more, they're able to, you know, do more. I'm not saying that, you know, बच्चे के मुंह से खाना छीन लो. But I'm just saying that you have to know when to stop. You have to tell your child what's not good. Now the option is left up to you as a mother. As parents, I think it's really important to teach your child the right way of eating.
Absolutely. So on that note, Shilpa, it's been such a pleasure having you. Really, really lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good health for our children and for us parents is clearly our biggest priority. Of course, we want our kids to be healthy and fit, and we want to be healthy and fit role models too. There are, God forbid, some things that are out of our control, but there are lots of things that are in our control. And I believe we should do these to ensure we live as healthy and fit lives as we can. Next week, an honest chat with Shona Chauhan Saluja on surrogacy. A chat with a friend on her experience with IVF and a tete-a-tete on single parenthood with Pooja Bedi.
Everything in life, be it marriage, be it children, has to be a very well-planned experience. You realize once your kids are born that they don't come with manuals.
Click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do keep interacting with me on our social media platforms.